Let's head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason.
Good morning, gentlemen. I'm just happen to be listening to the NFL Network, and they're talking about who the Browns are with this same owner, same old general manager, same old coach, and basically they're going nowhere. No definite plan to even try to win. Okay, I was wondering what your guys' opinion is on that. And don't tell me, Dave, they should not have drafted Mayfield. Take care, guys. Heading into a season with things hanging off us. Oh, well. Bye.
As always, appreciate all of the voicemails. Fred, I think the question becomes twofold. Not only who made the trade for Watson, but who guaranteed the $230 million. The draft picks are allocated as kind of where you're at relative to, top end of the roster relative to young talent because you don't have those 3 first-round picks. When they made the trade, I liked it. You were swinging big. But what happens when you swing and miss is you then are in a period where you kind of are where the Browns are right now. I don't think the roster is as bad as some of the national people are making it. I also can't tell you I think it's a playoff roster right now. And it still was by the way, it was a mistake to take Baker Mayfield over Josh Allen. But I digress.
Yeah, I mean, it's always as far as Baker, he wasn't the choice I had, but I thought, he was a starting NFL quarterback above average. I don't think he would have accomplished what he's done, if he would have stayed here. But I think he needed that, and that's like many times, guys, it clicks, kind of with the chip on the shoulder. With that said, the Watson thing, I thought it was everybody knows to be in this division with Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow, in whatever the Steelers, had Ben Roethlisberger, I think at the time, or close to it. You have to have, even in the AFC, the Mahomes and all the other quarterbacks, Josh Allen, you had to have an elite quarterback to compete to go to the Super Bowl. And the last time Watson played, he was an elite quarterback. He led the NFL in passing yardage, over 4,800 yards. Yeah, you had to give up a lot, but you thought you were going to be going to the playoffs every year and drafting in the 30s or 28 to 32 wasn't going to be, that big of a deal. As Haslam said yesterday, it has left a big hole in the roster because not only the 3 first rounders should be contributors, there was other higher picks, second round picks. There should have been 4 or 5, 6 players that are starting for you now that you don't have. So you're playing catch up through the draft. Yeah, I mean, as far as that's why the quarterback makes things go. That's why they took 2 quarterbacks, even if neither of these guys are the answer. They're trying to turn over as many stones to find one because they know ultimately they need to get that quarterback. And, as much as I like Travis Hunter, that's why they made that trade with the idea if they don't have a quarterback this time, then maybe next year with those 2 picks, and maybe Jacksonville will have a high pick, and maybe you wouldn't have to use your own pick on a quarterback. Maybe you could use Jacksonville's pick. So, a lot be determined, but it's one of those things that you're in. You got to get a quarterback. You think you had one with Watson, turned out to be a big miss, and it set your organization back. And so when Haslam was talking, all along they said they intend to win. You could tell he was saying that they're going to be patient. He expects more than 3 wins, but that's not a high bar. So I think that they realize they're all in this together. They made the decision. I think Andrew Berry brought it to the owners. They didn't have a lot of time to make the decision because Watson already turned them down once, and they went to the owner and he goes, "Yep, I'll sign off on it," and that's how that went down. Same way I think with the drafting of Shadur Sanders is what he said yesterday. He didn't make the decision. So all things total, they're still trying to transition. They're trying to win, but they're trying this year. I think is see what you have in the young guys, not only quarterback but a lot of positions, especially when you just lost Martin Emerson. You look at it, Dave. Three of their key starters on defense were lost before the season even started. That Jordan Hicks retired a week ago, and we know JOK was declared out for the season. So that's three big holes in that defense before you even get started.
Yep, and I guess the cautionary tale is when you swing big with a trade, there's a downside, and now you're in the downside.